Years had passed since Earth's message to the Galactic Union had been dismissed. In that time, humanity had changed quietly but profoundly. Cities were stronger, fleets were faster, and people were smarter. Humans no longer waited for the galaxy to notice them. They moved forward on their own. The first step beyond Sul came not with a grand announcement, but with small, daring missions. Scientists and explorers worked together to build vessels capable of long-distance travel. They were not sleek, polished ships like those of the Union, but they were strong, clever, and designed for survival. Each craft carried humans who had been trained for harsh conditions, who could endure what other species could not, and who carried the determination of their entire planet. The Odyssey, one of Earth's first interstellar ships, glided silently through the void. Its crew consisted of engineers, pilots, biologists, and soldiers. Each member had trained for years for this moment, and each understood the risks. They were going where no human had gone before, beyond the safety of Sul, into unknown space. Captain Elena Ruiz stood at the bridge, her eyes fixed on the stars. "We are representing Earth," she said quietly. "Not just a planet, not just a species. We carry every lesson we have learned from survival. Let's make it count." Her first officer, a young man named Ravi Patel, nodded. "They may call us primitive, Captain," he said, "but they've never faced a species that lives on a death world. We know how to survive anything." The journey was long and tense. Space was not kind to humans, but they adapted. The Odyssey's shields were reinforced to handle cosmic radiation that would have harmed most Union species. Life support systems were redundant, designed to survive equipment failures, and the crew themselves were trained to endure isolation, stress, and extreme conditions. Weeks into their voyage, the Odyssey detected a small Union outpost on the edge of a peaceful sector. It was not a warship, but a simple research station, lightly guarded and largely bureaucratic. Still, to the humans, it represented their first true encounter with the galaxy beyond Earth. "Approaching the outpost," announced the communications officer. "Shall we hail them?" Captain Ruiz shook her head. "No, let them see us first. Let them understand that we are not just another petitioning species. Let them feel what survival looks like." The humans moved slowly, observing the outpost's defenses. The aliens at the station, a species called the Vrylox, were tall and thin, with translucent skin that shimmered in the dim light of their habitat. They had never seen humans before. When the Odyssey's sensors scanned the station, the Vrylox reacted with alarm. "Unknown vessel approaching," a Vrylox officer called out. It's not one of ours." The station's commander activated a warning system, sending a signal to Union authorities. But the humans were already observing, not attacking. They studied the outpost's design, noted its weak points, and carefully maneuvered their ship closer. Despite being smaller and less advanced than Union vessels, the humans displayed something the Vrylox did not expect: adaptability. When the station's drones tried to intercept them, the humans adjusted their flight patterns, using unpredictable maneuvers learned from generations of living under Earth's storms. Radiation shields glimmered briefly, absorbing cosmic particles that would have damaged any alien ship. The Vrylox were astonished. "This species, they survive in conditions that should kill them," one whispered, "and they do not strike. Yet." Captain Ruiz finally opened communications. Her voice was calm but firm. "We mean no harm. We are explorers from Earth, but we are not weak. We are a species that survives everything. Remember that." The Vrylox were silent. They had underestimated humans. They had assumed weakness. But in every subtle movement, every calculated maneuver, the humans had shown intelligence, resilience, and courage. Word of the encounter quickly reached the Galactic Union Council. The insects, serpents, and crystalline beings that governed Union decisions debated the incident. "They are dangerous," said the insect diplomat. "Do you see how they adapt? How they survive? They could destroy our outposts if they wished." "They show restraint," countered another. "They did not attack. They observed, learned, and demonstrated their skills. Perhaps they are more than we believed." Still, the Council decided not to invite Earth into Union space. Humanity remained a curiosity, a species living on a death world, unworthy of recognition. Back on Earth, the reports of the Odyssey's encounter reached the public. People listened in awe as news anchors described the bravery and cleverness of the crew. Children drew pictures of human starships dancing through alien defenses. Adults discussed the meaning of resilience and ingenuity. Across the planet, there was a shared sense of pride. Humans had shown the galaxy what they could do, even when dismissed. Meanwhile, the Odyssey continued its mission. It traveled deeper into Union space, mapping star systems, observing alien species, and testing its crew's endurance. Every challenge reinforced what humans already knew. Their survival skills were unmatched. They could handle radiation storms that disabled sensors on alien ships. They could repair life support systems with improvised tools. They could solve problems in ways no algorithm could predict. As the Odyssey pushed further, rumors of humanity began to spread. Traders and scouts whispered of a species that could endure anything, a species that was clever and dangerous, yet merciful when they chose to be. Some aliens secretly admired humans, trading information or materials with them, curious to see how a Deathworld species thrived so far from home. On the Odyssey, Captain Ruiz kept a careful balance. "We are explorers, not conquerors," she reminded her crew. "Our goal is survival and learning. But never forget, we are human. We do not yield." Her words echoed through the ship as the crew faced minor battles, harsh cosmic conditions, and moral dilemmas. Each challenge tested their ingenuity. When an asteroid storm threatened to crush the ship, engineers rerouted power to shields and improvised navigation algorithms, guiding the vessel safely through. When an alien patrol attempted to chase them away, humans used clever decoys and rapid maneuvers to avoid confrontation while demonstrating their strength. Through it all, the crew of the Odyssey learned something vital. The galaxy feared what it did not understand. But humans were not afraid of the galaxy. They had survived ice ages, hurricanes, and wars on their own planet. They had endured floods, earthquakes, and famine. Now, they endured the stars themselves, confident that Earth's spirit could thrive anywhere. On Earth, young students tracked the Odyssey's journey. They imagined themselves on the ship, testing their own skills and daring the unknown. Teachers used the mission to inspire curiosity, bravery, and problem-solving. Engineers on the planet worked on new spacecraft designs, learning from the Odyssey's achievements. Humanity as a whole was growing stronger, smarter, and more united. Union scouts continued to report on the humans, increasingly uneasy. "They survive in ways no other species can," one said. "They are clever, adaptable, and strong. They could change the balance of power in the galaxy." But Earth remained ignored officially. The Union still did not grant membership, still dismissed humanity as primitive. And yet the humans themselves no longer sought approval. They were explorers, adventurers, survivors. They moved forward not for recognition, but because it was who they were. As the Odyssey charted another unclaimed system, Captain Ruiz looked at her crew. "We are just beginning," she said. "The galaxy does not see us yet, but it will. And when it does, it will remember that humans come from a death world, and Deathworlders do not give up." In that quiet moment, as distant stars passed by like scattered diamonds, humanity's first stirrings beyond Sol began to take shape. They were small steps, careful movements, but each one carried the weight of Earth itself, the storms, the mountains, the oceans, and the courage of every human who had lived, struggled, and survived. The galaxy may have dismissed them once. It may have called them primitive, reckless, or weak. But as the Odyssey and its crew moved farther from Sol, something new was awakening. Humans were no longer simply a species asking for acceptance. They were a force, a spark of resilience, and a living testament to survival against impossible odds. And somewhere beyond Union space, whispers began to spread. The Deathworlders are awake. And they are not to be underestimated. The galaxy had long been a place of order and routine. The Union maintained peace among countless worlds, each species contributing in ways their civilization deemed proper. But whispers began to ripple across star systems. Rumors of a species that lived on a death world, a species that survived conditions that would kill almost anyone else. The first reports came from isolated traders, transporting goods from one Union system to another. "Have you heard?" A grizzled trader told his companion while loading cargo on a small freighter. "Humans are out there beyond Sol. They endure storms that can wipe out an entire city. Their bodies survive radiation that would kill our fleets. And their ships, small, crude, and yet clever. They dodge and adapt. They never yield," his companion frowned. "Are you serious?" The Union says Earth is primitive, weak. Why would humans be able to do that? The traitor chuckled darkly. Primitive? They call survival weakness. They think they're harmless. You don't survive a death world by being harmless. Across the Union, the whispers reached scientists, strategists, and even military officers. Some dismissed them as exaggerations. Others could not deny the mounting evidence. Humans were extraordinary, and they were beginning to make their presence felt. Meanwhile, on Earth, the human expansion into interstellar space continued. The Odyssey and its sister ships mapped new star systems, gathering data on resources, planetary conditions, and alien civilizations. Humanity's scientists experimented with new technologies, inspired by both survival needs and the peculiar behavior of Union species. Humans were not only learning, they were adapting faster than anyone expected. Captain Elena Ruiz sat in her private quarters aboard the Odyssey, reviewing reports from the latest mission. A strange system had been discovered, one with unstable gravity and dangerous radiation belts. Other species would have avoided it, but humans saw opportunity. Engineers designed new propulsion techniques and shielding, and the crew tested every innovation rigorously. "We are learning faster than I imagined," said Ruiz to her first officer, Ravi Patel. "Each system, each challenge, it teaches us something new. They think we are primitive, but they do not know what that word means." Ravi nodded. "Every obstacle makes us stronger. Every mistake makes us smarter. That is something no Union species can match. Survival is our instinct, not just our choice." Humanity's actions did not go unnoticed. The Vryloks, the first aliens to encounter the Odyssey, began reporting unusual activity to Union authorities. These humans, they survive where we cannot. They do not attack, yet they show intelligence and resilience beyond expectation. "I do not know if they are a threat, but caution is advised," one Vryloks officer wrote. Other species took notice as well. Frontier traders began to observe human fleets from a distance, noting their unique strategies. Humans used deception not for destruction, but for protection. They modified their ships mid-mission using available materials, repaired damages that would immobilize Union vessels, and approached unknown worlds with curiosity instead of fear. Some aliens began to admire humans secretly. On remote trade stations, a few began sharing knowledge with human crews, exchanging advanced mapping algorithms or star charts in return for rare Earth materials. "They are strange," one alien said quietly to a companion, "but perhaps admirable. They survive everything the universe throws at them. That is not weakness, that is skill." However, not all reactions were positive. Within the Union Council, anxiety was growing. Reports of human adaptability and cleverness reached the representatives. Insects clicked, serpents hissed, crystalline beings shimmered with unease. "They are learning faster than anticipated," said one insect diplomat. "Their resilience is unnatural, and they do not conform to our expectations. They survive where we expect death. They may be dangerous in ways we cannot control. They show restraint," countered a crystalline being. "They do not attack unless provoked. Their morality seems flexible. That is more dangerous than outright aggression. We must monitor them closely." The council debated endlessly, but no consensus emerged. Humanity remained a mystery. Some members suggested finally inviting Earth into the Union, but the majority feared that humans would not follow Union rules. Others argued for containment or observation, convinced that a species so capable and unpredictable could disrupt the delicate balance of the galaxy. Back on Earth, humans were unaware of the fear they inspired. They focused on growth, on exploration, on survival. Children studied alien languages in schools, imagining themselves as future explorers. Engineers experimented with propulsion systems and energy shields, improving designs with each test. Soldiers trained in zero-gravity maneuvers and emergency tactics, preparing for a universe far harsher than any one planet. The Odyssey, now far from Sol, entered a system with a particularly hostile environment. Radiation flares erupted unpredictably from its star, and unstable magnetic fields caused instruments to malfunction. Most species would have retreated immediately. But humans saw opportunity. Captain Ruiz gathered her crew. "This system is dangerous," she said. "But danger is our home. We learn from it, we adapt to it, and we survive. This is what it means to be human." The crew worked together seamlessly. Engineers modified sensor arrays to function under radiation. Pilots practiced complex maneuvers to avoid magnetic turbulence. Scientists collected valuable data that could improve shielding for future missions, and every action demonstrated something fundamental. Humans did not just endure, they thrived in situations where others would perish. As they navigated the system, they encountered a small Union patrol vessel. The aliens aboard assumed humans would flee or surrender when challenged. They did not expect what happened next. The Odyssey performed an evasive maneuver that baffled the alien crew. Using a combination of human ingenuity and intuition, it avoided the patrol scanning fields and positioned itself for observation rather than confrontation. The aliens tried to intercept, but humans anticipated their moves, predicting patterns that the Union officers could not see. "They are clever," one alien muttered. "Not aggressive, but too clever." Captain Ruiz finally hailed the Union patrol. Her voice was steady and calm. "We mean no harm. We are explorers from Earth, but understand this. We survive where others fail. We adapt where others cannot. That is our nature. Judge us if you must, but do not underestimate us." The patrol, shaken and unsure, backed away without further incident. For the humans, it was a victory not in battle but in demonstration. They could survive, even thrive in the galaxy without permission or approval. Word of the encounter spread across Union space. Traders, scouts, and diplomats whispered about the humans. They were no longer merely primitive survivors. They were unpredictable, clever, and dangerous in ways the galaxy did not yet understand. Fear and admiration grew together in alien hearts. On Earth, humans continued to expand their reach. New ships were launched, new systems mapped, and new skills developed. Every challenge strengthened their resolve. Humanity was no longer simply waiting for the galaxy's approval. They were becoming a presence the galaxy could not ignore. In secret, a few aliens began to communicate with humans through trade or observation. They offered insights into navigation, alien customs, and survival in hostile environments. In return, humans shared their own discoveries, improved materials, survival tactics, and strategies that could only come from a species that had thrived on a death world. Even as whispers of fear spread, humans remained unaware of the full extent of the galaxy's attention. Their focus was on survival, on exploration, and on proving to themselves what it meant to be human. They faced danger not as a choice but as a way of life. Captain Ruiz stood on the Odyssey's observation deck, looking out at a nebula swirling with colors no human eye had ever seen before. "We are learning," she said to Ravi Patel. "Not just about the stars, but about ourselves. Every challenge, every encounter. It shows us what humans can do." Ravi smiled. "And the galaxy is starting to notice," he said quietly. "They fear us or perhaps admire us. Either way, they cannot ignore what we are becoming." The humans did not seek fear or admiration, they sought survival, knowledge, and growth. Yet the galaxy could not help but watch. In countless systems, beings of all shapes and sizes whispered the same thing. The Deathworlders are stirring. They are clever, adaptable, and stronger than anyone imagined. We should not underestimate them. And on Earth, humans continued their work, training, building, and exploring. They did not know the full effect of their actions yet. They only knew this: they were alive, they were strong, and they would face whatever came next with courage, intelligence, and the relentless spirit of a species born on a world that had always demanded resilience. The whispers of fear were only the beginning. Humanity's presence, once dismissed as weak and primitive, was beginning to awaken something the galaxy had not seen before. The Deathworlders were no longer simply surviving. They were learning, adapting, and preparing for the universe that had long overlooked them. The galaxy had always believed itself to be orderly. Union fleets patrolled the stars, planets lived in relative peace, and civilizations thrived under the guidance of countless treaties and regulations. But the quiet arrogance of the Union was about to be challenged. In the outer sectors beyond the well-charted space, an ancient threat stirred. A predator species long thought extinct emerged from the shadows of the galaxy. Massive, swift, and almost unstoppable, their fleets hunted with precision and violence, consuming worlds without warning. Union worlds, peaceful and unprepared, fell quickly. Entire sectors vanished before help could arrive. Panic spread like wildfire through the Council of Worlds. "Send reinforcements," one diplomat demanded, its voice shaking with fear. "We cannot face them with our current fleets alone." The Union fleets moved hastily, but it was already too late. Planets burned, communication arrays were destroyed, and the Council realized that their rules, their order, and their careful plans could not stop this predator. Some voices called out for Earth. Perhaps the humans could help, suggested a few who had seen the whispers. The subtle reports of resilience and skill. They are strong, clever, and they survive anything. Maybe they could turn the tide. But the Council, stubborn and fearful, refused. They are a primitive species, one high-ranking diplomat said. They cannot be trusted. We will face this ourselves. On Earth, humans sensed something was happening long before the Union asked for help. Scouts and telescopes picked up signals from distant worlds. Planets burning, fleets moving desperately, stars dimming under the shadow of the predator species. Humanity had no illusions. They were being watched, underestimated, and dismissed. Yet the danger to the galaxy was clear. Captain Elena Ruiz stood on the bridge of the Odyssey, reviewing the reports. The Union refuses to call us, she said. Her voice was calm but firm. They think we are primitive, yet they cannot defend themselves. If we wait for their invitation, the galaxy will be lost. We must act on our own. Ravi Patel, her first officer, nodded. It is time, he said. Not for recognition, but for survival. For the galaxy, yes, but also for Earth. If this predator spreads unchecked, it will eventually reach us. We cannot stand idly by. Humanity had grown in strength, intelligence, and unity. The fleets, once small and exploratory, had been reinforced with Earth's finest engineers, pilots, and strategists. Ships were upgraded with innovative designs, shielding to withstand radiation storms, engines capable of extreme maneuvers, and weapon systems built for defense rather than domination. As Earth's fleet assembled in orbit, citizens watched with pride. Children cheered from windows, engineers fine-tuned spacecraft in factories, and soldiers trained relentlessly. Humanity was no longer waiting for recognition. They were preparing to face the galaxy's worst threat on their own terms. The fleet's first engagement with the predator species was sudden and brutal. The enemy's ships were enormous, their movements precise and deadly. Union patrols that tried to intercept them were annihilated almost instantly. Yet the human fleet, smaller and seemingly weaker, moved with strategy and intuition born from centuries of surviving harsh worlds. Captain Ruiz issued commands with clarity. Focus on observation first. Learn their patterns, adapt. We will not survive by brute force alone. Use intelligence, creativity, and cooperation. That is our advantage. Humans maneuvered their vessels in ways no other species anticipated. They used asteroids and radiation belts to hide and reposition, exploiting environmental hazards that the predators assumed were obstacles. Engineers on the ships adapted shields and thrusters on the fly, turning weaknesses into strengths. The predator species underestimated humans at every turn. They had faced countless civilizations, each less resilient than the last. But humans were not like other species. They could endure radiation that crippled others. They could survive hull breaches long enough to repair them. They could think creatively under pressure, using tactics born from survival on a harsh, unforgiving planet. One intense battle unfolded near a gas giant, where the predators attempted to trap the human fleet. The enemy had superior firepower, but humans anticipated the ambush. Using rapid improvisation, small vessels darted through the stormy atmosphere, drawing predators into narrow channels. There, the humans deployed magnetic nets that disabled engines without destroying ships, demonstrating that strength alone was not the measure of power. Cleverness and adaptability were just as important. Union observers could not believe their eyes. They survive where we expected them to fall, a commander reported. They do not yield. They adapt faster than anything we have seen. Perhaps they are the answer we have been seeking. But the Union still hesitated to officially call Earth for aid. Fear and pride held them back. Humanity, however, did not wait. Every star, every fleet, every strategy was a step toward proving that humans could face any challenge, even the galaxy's most dangerous predators. Meanwhile, on Earth, ordinary citizens continued to support the effort. Engineers refined weapon systems, scientists developed better sensors, and teachers inspired a new generation with stories of human courage and ingenuity. Even those who would never leave the planet felt the pride of belonging to a species that refused to be dismissed. The human fleet continued to face the predator species in countless skirmishes. Each encounter taught new lessons. Human ships survived damage that would have crippled other species. Crews repaired critical systems while under fire, and pilots executed maneuvers that seemed impossible. Time and again, humans proved that survival was not luck. It was skill, determination, and intelligence. Captain Ruiz addressed her crew during one long night in orbit around a distant star. "They call us primitive," she said. "They call us weak. But we have survived storms, famine, predators, and wars. We have endured ice ages and earthquakes. That is our strength. That is what the galaxy does not yet understand. Remember this. We fight not for recognition, but because it is who we are, and we will not fail." Ravi Patel added, "Every step we take, every challenge we overcome, shows the universe that humans are not just survivors. We are pioneers. We are strategists. We are the children of a death world, and the galaxy will remember that." The battles intensified. Predator fleets grew frustrated and reckless. They had faced civilizations weaker than humans, civilizations that fell at the first attack. But humans did not fall. They adapted, they endured, and they innovated. In one decisive encounter, humans used a combination of stealth, environmental awareness, and coordinated strikes to force a massive predator vessel into a magnetic field trap near a neutron star. The enemy ship was immobilized, giving the humans a victory without destroying the vessel. Proof of strategy over brute force. Across the galaxy, whispers of fear and admiration grew louder. Traders, scouts, and diplomats repeated the same message. The Deathworlders are unlike any species we have encountered. They survive, they adapt, and they do not yield. On Earth, people celebrated each news report, not with arrogance, but with pride. Children dreamed of joining the fleets one day. Scientists worked harder. Inspired by humanity's success, engineers innovated constantly, knowing that every improvement could save lives. Humanity was united like never before, not through politics or conflict, but through shared purpose and the will to endure. Even as the predator threat continued to loom, humans did not falter. Each challenge strengthened their resolve. They learned from every encounter, adapted to every hazard, and became faster, smarter, and stronger. The galaxy may have ignored their call once, but humanity was no longer asking. It was showing. Captain Ruiz stood on the observation deck of the Odyssey, watching distant stars burn with energy. "We are the storm now," she said quietly. "Not the tempest that destroys everything mindlessly, but the force that adapts, survives, and endures. Let them come. We are ready." And somewhere beyond Union space, the predator species paused. They had faced countless civilizations, but none like these humans. Their intelligence, courage, and adaptability were unexpected. The whispers across the galaxy grew louder, now tinged with fear. The Deathworlders have arrived. Humanity had stepped into the rising storm. They did not seek recognition. They did not seek fame. They fought because it was who they were, because survival was their nature, and because the galaxy, once dismissive, would soon understand that the children of a death world could not be ignored. The galaxy was trembling. The predator species, massive and relentless, had pushed through countless Union systems, leaving destruction in its wake. Worlds that had once been peaceful were now burning, their people fleeing in terror. The Union fleet struggled to respond, their ships outmatched by the raw speed, precision, and aggression of the ancient predators. But from the shadows of the outer sectors, a new force had emerged. Humanity, the species once dismissed as primitive, had arrived, not as supplicants seeking recognition, but as survivors, strategists, and warriors born of a death world. Captain Elena Ruiz stood on the bridge of the Odyssey, watching the predator fleet approach. Her crew was tense yet calm. They had trained for this, studied the enemy, and developed strategies that could turn even desperation into advantage. Ravi Patel, her first officer, looked over the battle maps. "They are faster and larger than anything we've faced," he said. "But they underestimate us. That is our advantage." Humans had learned that brute force alone would not win this war. They had survived floods, storms, earthquakes, and famine on Earth, not by overpowering every challenge, but by adapting, cooperating, and thinking creatively. Now, in the void of space, the same principles applied. The human fleet moved like a storm across the stars. Smaller, more agile ships darted among asteroid fields using natural obstacles as shields. Engineers adapted weapons and shields mid-battle, turning what seemed like weaknesses into opportunities. Pilots executed daring maneuvers learned from survival on Earth's oceans, mountains and deserts. The predator species, confident in their size and strength, was unprepared for humans' combination of intelligence, adaptability, and relentless determination. Every attack by the enemy was countered with creative solutions. A swarm of predator vessels attempted to flank the human fleet through a debris field, but humans had anticipated it, laying traps with energy nets and gravitational distortions that immobilized multiple enemy ships without destroying them. Union observers watched in disbelief. Ships that had been considered weak and primitive were now performing maneuvers and strategies no Union officer had imagined. They are incredible, one Union commander whispered. They do not fight like any species we know. They endure, adapt, and survive where others fail. Humanity's approach to battle was unique. They did not seek to destroy indiscriminately. Instead, they focused on survival, protection, and precision strikes. When a predator vessel attempted to trap a human ship near a neutron star, engineers on board calculated a risky but precise course, using the star's gravity to catapult their ship behind the predator, disabling its engines without a single life lost. On Earth, people watched broadcasts of human fleets in action. Citizens cheered, not with arrogance, but with pride. Engineers, children, teachers, and soldiers felt the shared pride of belonging to a species that refused to be dismissed. Humanity was no longer asking for recognition. They were demonstrating their worth through action, courage, and ingenuity. As battles raged across multiple sectors, Captain Ruiz addressed her crew. "Remember why we fight?" she said. "Not for fame, not for recognition, but because it is who we are. We survive, we adapt, we endure. That is human nature. And today the galaxy will see it." Ravi Patel added, "We are not just survivors. We are innovators, pioneers, and protectors. Every ship, every crew member, every decision matters. The galaxy may have dismissed us, but they cannot do so any longer." The climax came near a massive, unstable star system. The Predator fleet had gathered its strength, aiming to crush the human fleet in a decisive strike. Yet humans had prepared. Using decades of research, training, and ingenuity, they laid a complex strategy that combined environmental hazards, rapid maneuvers, and psychological tactics. The battle was intense. Explosions of energy lit the void as human ships darted in ways the Predators could not predict. Engineers repaired critical systems while under fire. Pilots executed maneuvers that would have been impossible for any other species. And throughout it all, humans displayed restraint, destroying only what was necessary to survive and protect their fleet. The Predator species, frustrated by repeated failures, became reckless. They overextended, falling into traps that humans had set. A massive Predator vessel became trapped in a gravitational anomaly, immobilized and surrounded. Human crews approached carefully, demonstrating not only strength but precision, control, and intelligence. Union fleets, observing from a distance, were stunned. The humans were not merely fighting. They were teaching the galaxy what true resilience looked like. "They are extraordinary," a Union commander admitted. "They survive where we expected failure. They adapt where we expected defeat. Perhaps we underestimated them." On the battlefield, human crews coordinated seamlessly. Communication was clear and concise. Every member understood their role, and every decision was made with both courage and intelligence. Small, agile ships darted around larger Predator vessels, disabling systems and cutting supply lines without engaging in unnecessary combat. Larger human ships provided shields, cover, and tactical guidance. As the Predator fleet faltered, humans pressed forward. They did not celebrate destruction, but they did press their advantage with precision and careful strategy. The ancient Predators, once unstoppable, were now on the defensive. Every vessel captured or disabled further proved the unique strength of a species born on a death world. Back on Earth, the people followed the battle closely. Schools organized simulations based on human fleet tactics. Engineers shared new designs inspired by the ingenuity displayed in combat. Children dreamed not just of adventure, but of contributing to the legacy of a species that refused to bow, even when dismissed by the galaxy. In the final moments of the campaign, Captain Ruiz directed the fleet in a daring maneuver. Using the gravitational pull of a nearby star, human ships created a vortex that forced predator vessels into positions where they could no longer maneuver effectively. With patience, intelligence, and discipline, humans immobilized the last of the attacking fleet. When the dust settled, the galaxy stood in awe. The predator species had been broken not through sheer firepower, but through intelligence, courage, adaptability, and the relentless spirit of a species that had survived on a world no one had deemed hospitable. Humans had proved that survival was not weakness, and that ingenuity and cooperation could triumph over raw strength. Union leaders, who had once dismissed Earth as primitive, now faced a species they could no longer ignore. Diplomatic channels opened cautiously. Delegates approached Earth, this time not with judgment but with respect and curiosity. The whispers had grown into a chorus of admiration and cautious fear. The Deathworlders have awakened. Captain Ruiz addressed her crew after the final battle. "We did not fight for recognition," she said, her voice steady but proud. "We fought because it was necessary, because it is who we are. And the galaxy has finally seen us not as primitive beings but as humans, resilient, clever, and unstoppable when united." Ravi Patel smiled. "We have survived storms, earthquakes, predators, and famine. We have endured everything Earth threw at us. Today, the galaxy learned what that truly means. The awakening was not just for the galaxy. Humanity itself had grown stronger. They had faced the unknown, overcome unimaginable challenges, and emerged not merely alive but respected, feared, and admired. The planet that had long been ignored, the species that had been dismissed, now stood as an example of what determination, intelligence, and resilience could achieve. And so, humanity began a new era. They continued to explore, to learn, and to adapt. They forged new alliances, shared their knowledge, and strengthened their fleets. But above all, they carried with them the enduring lesson of their history. Survival is not weakness, and resilience is power. The galaxy, once dismissive and proud, could not forget them. Every world, every species, every fleet knew the truth. The Deathworlders had awakened, and they would not be underestimated again. The Zarathi starship glided silently through the vast emptiness of the Orion Arm. Its sleek silver hull reflected the distant starlight like liquid metal. Commander Valen stood on the bridge, his many eyes scanning the instruments. For centuries, the Zarathi had believed they were the first intelligent civilization in the galaxy. They were proud, confident, and certain that the stars were theirs to explore. Yet today, something unusual had appeared on their sensors. Deep within the Sol system, where the Zarathi maps showed only barren planets and dead rocks, faint energy readings pulsed rhythmically. The readings were subtle, almost like a heartbeat, and unlike anything Valen had seen before. "This doesn't make sense," muttered Lieutenant Kor, his voice trembling with excitement. "This system was lifeless. Why is there energy here?" Valen's gaze hardened. "Prepare the scanning drones. We need to understand what we are detecting before reporting back to the Council." Within minutes, the first drones launched from the ship, small but powerful, equipped to analyze energy, temperature, and chemical composition. They moved like silent silver fish weaving between planets and asteroids, heading toward the source of the readings, Earth. From orbit, Earth looked quiet, almost peaceful. Vast oceans shimmered under the sun, and white clouds drifted lazily above the continents. Yet beneath the surface, hidden by ice and stone, something ancient waited. The first scans revealed the impossible. Beneath the frozen lands of Antarctica, enormous structures lay buried, their sharp angles and vast scales far beyond natural formation. Some structures were metallic, others made from stone that had resisted the erosion of millions of years. "These are not natural," said Kor, awe creeping into his voice. "They are artificial and old, very old." Valen frowned, feeling a strange tension in his chest. "How old?" he asked. The drone's instrument struggled to measure accurately, as the energy signatures they detected were unlike anything in Zarathi history. Slowly, a terrifying realization emerged. These structures were millions of years older than the Zarathi civilization itself. Valen staggered backward. This cannot be. Nothing should exist here before us." Kor shook his head. "We were wrong. We are not the first." The bridge was silent. The pride of the Zarathi, their belief in being the first, was being shattered by the cold evidence before them. Commander Valen's many eyes, normally so sharp and unyielding, blinked in disbelief. "We must investigate further," he said finally, his voice calm despite the storm in his mind. "Prepare a landing team. We need to see what we are dealing with on the surface." Hours later, a squad of Zarathi explorers descended toward the Antarctic landscape. The snow stretched endlessly, white and blinding under the planet's sun. Yet beneath their boots the ground felt strange, unnaturally smooth. They reached the first structure, a massive triangular formation embedded in the ice. Its surface was etched with strange patterns, symbols that seemed to shift when viewed from different angles. Lieutenant Kor ran his fingers over the carvings. These are markings of a language, but I don't recognize it. None of our records show anything like this." Valen stepped closer, his antennas brushing the icy wind. "The energy readings come from inside," he said. "There might be power sources still active." With careful precision, they opened a massive door that had resisted the cold for millions of years. A low hum filled the air as the mechanism activated, sliding silently into the snow. Inside was darkness, but not empty darkness. A soft pulsing light emanated from the walls, illuminating vast chambers filled with machinery. "This is incredible," whispered Kor. "Look at the size of this place. It could house thousands of beings." The explorers moved cautiously through the halls, their sensors scanning every surface. They found evidence of advanced technology, floating panels that responded to touch, machines with energy outputs far beyond Zarathi standards, and holographic displays that flickered weakly but still showed information. Valen stopped in front of one of the displays. Slowly, images flickered to life, stars, planets, and fleets of ships moving across the galaxy. They weren't Zarathi ships. They were something else. "These are star maps," said Kor, his voice barely a whisper. "They show interstellar travel. But by whom?" The realization hit them with full force. Someone had mastered the stars long before the Zarathi had even dreamed of leaving their homeworld. Someone had been here first. As they explored further, they discovered more. Storage rooms filled with preserved specimens, artifacts, and writings. Some seemed like everyday objects. Others were tools of incredible power. One chamber contained what appeared to be a preserved city model, showing a civilization that had thrived, conquered, and expanded across planets. This civilization was advanced beyond our imagining," Valen said softly. "And they disappeared." Kor frowned. "Do you think they were destroyed? Or did they leave?" Valen shook his head. "I don't know. But whatever happened, it was deliberate. They didn't just vanish. They left a message." Then, as if answering the unspoken thought, one of the machines in the center of the main chamber activated. A low hum resonated, and a holographic figure flickered into existence. It was humanoid, but distinct from any known species. Its eyes glowed faintly, and its voice, though broken and mechanical, spoke a single sentence. "The children of Earth will rise again." The explorers froze. The words were simple, yet carried immense weight. Millions of years had passed, and still something, had left a warning or perhaps a promise. "What does it mean?" Kor whispered. Valen's antennas twitched nervously. "It means we are not alone in history. We are not the first. And perhaps we are not the last." They spent hours examining the ruins, each discovery more astonishing than the last. There were machines capable of repairing themselves, energy sources that defied Zarathi understanding, and libraries containing knowledge of mathematics, physics, and art that the aliens had never imagined. And everywhere, the signs of humans were there. Not the humans they had read about in old myths, but beings far older, far wiser, and far more capable than anything the Zarathi could comprehend. As the Zarathi prepared to return to their ship, Valen looked out through the icy window. Earth seemed peaceful, even innocent. Yet beneath the surface, secrets older than the galaxy itself slept, waiting for the day they would be awakened. "This discovery changes everything," Valen said quietly. "The galaxy will never be the same." Kor nodded. "If the humans were here before us, what does that make us?" Valen didn't answer immediately. Instead, he watched the icy horizon, the soft glow of the buried ruins reflecting off the snow. The weight of history pressed down on him, and for the first time he felt something he had never experienced before. Humility. The Zarathi had come seeking proof that they were the first. Instead, they had found evidence that they were children in the shadow of a forgotten empire. And in that moment, the galaxy's story began to shift. For what lay beneath Earth's frozen surface was not just a relic of the past. It was the beginning of a mystery that could shake the stars themselves. As the landing team left the surface and returned to their ship, the hum of the ruins continued almost like a heartbeat, echoing across the icy chambers. Somewhere deep beneath the frozen Earth, the secret waited, and one day, perhaps sooner than the Zarathi expected, the children of Earth would rise again.